Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning. We are going to be bringing in an amazing panel of people to broach something that is, I know, very difficult, but something essential to address. After a cold and, I think, pretty depressing winter, most of us look forward to shedding the layers, heading outdoors, freeing ourselves, enjoying the burgeoning joys of the warmer weather. But there is a cold fact that many may not be aware of.
That's right. For more than 50 years, it's been proven that people attempt and die by suicide far more often in the springtime. Wow. Now, obviously, suicidal thoughts and attempts are, it's grave concern at any time of the year. But just as we worry about the same as we worry about asthma during the pollen season and periods, and it is also, we encourage to be more vigilant for the suicidal thinking and behavior as the season changes. And that is exactly why World Suicide Prevention Day is so important. And today we discuss the facts with the panel of experts that includes psychiatrist Dr. Akpabio, as well as actor and performer Bruce Feldman, and spokesperson for the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, Senzikile Shongwe, joining us in studio. And we encourage you at home to please join in, be part of this conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts, perhaps experiences with someone that's been suicidal. You can WhatsApp us on 063 408 8863.
Thank you so much for joining us at home, and to all of you. I know it's a deep breath before you have a conversation like this. I would imagine this is the space that you guys are playing in. Such a vitally important day. A bit shocking when we hear the statistics. And I suppose it stands to reason that this is the time of the year where the expectation is to feel amazing. We should feel fantastic. It's the best time of our lives. And then you start comparing yourself to everyone else, maybe how much you've lost over the last few years or haven't been able to recover after losing it all to COVID, and one by one the dominoes start to fall, and we feel that weight. I'm going to say it right now, and we're going to keep these details up for the rest of today's show. The SA Depression and Anxiety Group are there. All the time someone can speak to you. So maybe, Senzikile, I should start with you. Why are we seeing a spike at this time of the year? Why is this traditionally such a dark period?
And it's really weird that because spring is supposed to be a good time and a happy time, why would somebody that struggles with depression actually get worse during this time? And this is because everyone is so excited and happy and planning to go on holidays. People are partying, people are getting out there wearing bright colors. A person that is actually struggling with mental health related illnesses feels the opposite. It's quite a lot of pressure, and it's quite a lot to get out of them to actually be out there and do all of those things. So they kind of feel like they're out of place. They kind of feel like they are out of their comfort zone as well. And days in summer and spring are quite longer. And in winter you go to bed quicker. And when you struggle with depression, you always want to be cushioned up in bed.
Yeah,
and
circle the wagons. Yeah.
Exactly. So in summer, the days are quite longer. So it means that you have to actually stay and talk to people and chat and be outside for a longer period of time, which is something that you would rather avoid if you are depressed.
That's so scary, and it's not something I ever thought about, and I think that's why it's so important for us to have these conversations. Now, Bruce, you have a very long resume. I mean, it's incredible. You're an accomplished actor, model, performer, author, Mr. South Africa finalist, but it didn't come without challenges. When you were growing up, I mean, today is, a day where we're putting the spotlight on suicide awareness. Was suicidal thoughts something that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I must say it had crossed my mind. Being raised in a black family, being the firstborn, and in an absent father, suicide definitely crossed my mind. You are in constant battles because you forever want to do better. You forever want to push yourself, and you don't always achieve the dreams and the goals that you set for yourself and what society has placed for you. So therefore, when you fail, or when you feel that you're lacking in some aspect of your life, you then drop back, which leads to depression, which then puts suicidal thoughts in one's mind. So it definitely, I had suicidal thoughts in my mind.
And then this little cycle starts repeating itself, and so have I. And this is the crazy thing, and maybe, Doc, you can help me understand what's going on in the mind here, because I've said this to myself many times. I know that I won't. I know that I won't go that far, okay, because I've got kids, I've got people who rely on me, I've got family, I've got all of these things. but it's still there.
Yeah.
It would be great to not hit one of those major challenges, one of those dark moments, and have that thought there, like, okay, well, there's always an out. But there is a reason why we reach for that. And certainly in our darkest hours, why do we contemplate suicide? What is going on in our mind when we reach for that extreme?
Well, it could be varieties of things. So suicide often happens in the context of intense emotional distress, as you've mentioned. And in those periods, there can be thoughts of hopelessness, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, frustration, intense pain, and just not feeling like there's any way out. And sometimes suicide seems to be the only way to end the suffering that you're going through. But it's also good that we keep in mind that suicide can also occur in other contexts, such as with the background of substance use, psychosis in response to hallucinations or delusions, or sometimes in spring with the flare-up of bipolar manic episodes. There can be reckless behavior, and that's how some people end up succumbing to suicide.
I get it, because the world kind of feels manic at the moment. It kind of feels like everything has gone crazy a little bit. And now we move into a new season, and I get it. Everyone should be feeling happy, but our reality hasn't quite shifted. We're still dealing with so much right now. And if you are feeling like the walls are caving in this instant, speak to someone. The South African Depression and Anxiety Group is there. They've got amazing human beings, people sitting there ready to talk to you, who are trained, who will say the right things and will help you take that first step. So please use those details and drop us a WhatsApp voice note if you can, if you want to share your perspective. 063 408 8863. We'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining this really important conversation this morning. It is World Suicide Prevention Day, commemorated on the 10th of September, in fact, to promote worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicides, which are committed by 3,000 people daily. Sure. Let that sink in. Our conversation on suicide awareness and prevention resumes with our wonderful panel consisting of psychiatrist Dr. Pabio, actor and performer Bruce Feldman, and spokesperson for the brilliant South African Depression and Anxiety Group, Senzakile Shongwe. And of course, we're encouraging you guys to drop us a voice note and weigh in on the discussion. 063 408 8863 is the number to use.
Well, we actually have a voice note now. This one came through from Ethelwyn. Let's take a listen to it.
Morning, Expresso. Yes, I've actually, even last night, I battled with that thought. Thought, let me just end it, because we're struggling so much as young people these days. This generation of ours, there's so much pressure on us. Such a lot of things happening in the world around us, and it actually made me so depressed last night as I was about to fall asleep, and I thought, people that are dead are actually better off, you know?
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that there is the South African Depression and Anxiety Group that is there to assist. The number is on your screen right now. I would highly encourage you to please contact them. Senzi, what are some of the signs and symptoms that we as outsiders can look to be able to help those who are in that dark hole?
And, you know, just listening to the voice note right now, the first one is hopelessness.
Yeah.
Feeling like there really isn't anything that I can do anymore so that my situation can get better. And when the list goes on, I mean, it's quite an extensive list, but you would find that sometimes you feel quite sad for long periods of time. If you have been feeling sad and like you're in a dark space for more than 2 weeks, it is time for you to go and see a psychologist or speak to a counselor. And you find that your sleeping patterns also change and they get disturbed. You either sleep way too much or you struggle to sleep. And that sometimes is a big trigger, because when you don't sleep enough, you become tired. You see, so they build on to each other. And when you get tired, you get more depressed and you get more sad. Or you find that sometimes you sleep way too much that your days are not productive and you are always feeling lethargic and feeling like your life is stuck and you are unable to make decisions. You are unable to focus. So depression is this big dark hole that you feel like you cannot get yourself out of. And that is why people then start thinking of taking their lives, because they feel this sense of hopelessness and that there really isn't anything I can do. I don't see the light because it's darkness, right? And you are always just looking to get that light and finding that light and finding that hope. But when you are now in a state of saying, I want to take my life, you really don't see a way out. And I always say that there always is a way out. All you have to do is to reach out for help. All you have to do is to have a good support system in your life and actually use the people around you that love you and that care for you.
And there is a community of people who really do care and understand the space. And just listening to you talk about that sense of darkness, it's almost like walking in a dream. And the longer you stay in that, the more detached from reality you get. And I think that's when those darker thoughts suddenly start to gain a bit more relevance and momentum. And you're like, hang on a minute, maybe that actually is an option. Yeah. Bruce, in your book, Trapped But No Barriers, you talk very much to the notion of young people protecting their mental health. We know that men have a much higher suicide, 4 times higher suicide rate in this country. And I think, we've spoken about this notion of toxic masculinity and what it means to be a man and not show your weakness. If I look back, I wish someone had taught me tools to manage my mental health, like my physical health, like my mental well-being in terms of intelligence and fostering that. I wish someone had spoken about those coping mechanisms. Why is it so important for young people to understand the fragility or how their mind works and how they can lose their way but need to know how to protect it? Why is it so important?
It's very important because as a man, especially within South Africa, society has built these walls or stigma that you as a man is supposed to be strong, you as a man, you carry the family, you as a man, you're not allowed to carry your emotions on your sleeves.
Suck it up.
Yeah, you should suck it up and be a man, And at the end of the day, all of those things, they pile up and then they lead to depression. You start looking at your life and you feel worthless, which is a sign of depression. And you look at the next person's life and for some reason, you compare yourself to other people and you start asking yourself, okay, so why are they so happy? Why am I not as productive or as happy as they are? And you just start being less productive. You start feeling worthless. And it all kind of boils down to depression, which then leads to suicidal thoughts. And as she has said just now, that you feel that suicide actually ends the pain when it really does not. Yeah. It only shifts the pain. Yeah. It shifts it from you to the next, maybe to your parents or your friends or the people that you loved with. So it's very important for us as a society as a whole to be mindful of our mental health, to take care of ourselves, because if I am not productive, I cannot be productive to the next person. Yeah. If I don't have, I cannot give to the next person. So it's very important for myself to take care of myself first before I can take care of the next person.
Yeah, that notion to put the oxygen on your own face first so that you are there to help the people around you. We're going to continue this discussion. Please weigh in if you've got a personal perspective or would like to share your thoughts with us this morning. 063-408-8863. Drop us a voice note.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso on S3 and our conversation on suicide, awareness and prevention. It resumes with our panel consisting of psychiatrist Dr. Akpabio, actor and performer Bruce Feldman, and spokesperson for the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, Senzikile Shongwe. Now, we encourage you at home to join in on this discussion and share your thoughts. We have WhatsApps that's came through, and this one's from Ursula.
Good morning, Expresso. My name is Ursula. I share the sentiment of the pain that passes on. My son committed suicide a few years ago. Sometimes the pain is so intense that it feels like a cloak wrapped around my soul. My prayers are lifted for people with suicide thoughts. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Ursula.
Our deepest condolences. We are sending you all of our love. I suppose this job, it highlights that life happens. We want to be bigger than these things. We want to be stronger than these things, but life, especially over these last few years, I think has been overwhelming for most of us. Doctor, I'm going to start with you because I can't let go of one particular fact. The fact that, as we mentioned earlier, suicide rates are 4 times higher within men than women in South Africa. Why is this?
Yes, basically it's because men are more likely to use lethal methods. So they might do something like a gunshot or hanging, as opposed to women who might try something like an overdose.
Okay.
But you know, before you even get to that point, we talk about the societal, the social, the cultural and personal factors that can impair a man's access to mental health. So as you and Bruce had mentioned, the idea that a man has to be strong, a man has to suck it up, might affect the ability to access service, and they might also then turn to poorer ways of coping, like substances, which, as we've already mentioned, also contributes to the risk of suicidality.
Now, Senzi, SADAG, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, it is a helpline and also a lifeline for a lot of people. How can people, I feel like this is an all-round question, how can they reach out? What happens when they phone that line? How can they talk to you? And are there steps that we can encourage people on how to deal with these negative thoughts that they have to see if they can self-regulate themselves?
So SADAG has got over 200 counsellors that take on calls from anyone and everyone that wants to get counselling, especially people that feel like they can't afford it, but they are really in a dark state. And we also have got people that can actually afford the services, but feel that they don't know how to navigate their way through the healthcare system. So we've got mental health counsellors that actually are there to listen and to help. So you find that you're speaking to someone, firstly someone that you don't know, which makes you feel more comfortable to actually voice out and express yourself, because we are actually living in a society where mental health still has quite a lot of stigma in a lot of in a lot of societies. So we still find it hard to actually talk to our friends and to our families about the issues that we're going through. So actually speaking to a counsellor, a SADAG counsellor, helps you to be able to open up and actually get the right way of managing your mental health related challenges. And to answer your question of how can people actually start taking care of their mental health, it is very important to be aware of what you're feeling physically and mentally, because when you are more aware of how you're feeling, then you are able to create self-help techniques that are suitable for you, that help you. If you know that in the mornings I don't feel so great, then you kind of find a way of managing that. You can decide that I'm going to start jogging in the morning. It is important for you to exercise because that actually makes you happy. Okay, and actually eating well, because eating unhealthy food can also affect your mental health, and making sure that, again, and I'm going to repeat this, you actually have got a good support structure. And if you do not have family or friends, actually making contact with SADAG or a psychologist so that you actually have that support, and also doing things that make you happy, doing things that you're good at. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to do things that you're good at, because they make you feel, they make you feel good about yourself, and it takes away what you mentioned, this sense of worthlessness. So that is very important. And people can call 0800 567 567 free from their cell phone to speak to a mental health counsellor.
And whether that's in an emergency situation, if you have a suicide situation there that you are engaging with, you can speak to a professional. To hit the nail on the head, I've been working with SADAG for the last 5 weeks on a movement campaign just to get people moving. Don't focus on trying to solve the problem, because we know that that's too big. That's why you feel this way. Focus on the first step. Focus on taking that first step, i.e. speaking to someone who is trained to do that, speaking to a psychologist who is trained to help you through that process. I can guarantee you, no matter how dark it feels right now, there is someone ready to help you. You just need to reach out. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us this morning. This has been wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.